Taking this IPO fatigue?
Well, a little bit, Axel. I mean, initially we saw fairly good appetite for IPOs at the beginning of this year, and we certainly saw very stretched valuations, and the fact that investors were prepared to actually pay over the odds. But I think we've seen a little bit of reflection. A lot of the IPOs that have launched earlier this year are now trading below their IPO prices, and I think as a result, I think it's making expectations about this TSB IPO that was announced this morning fairly muted.
And all right, so what and how fearful are you, given what you've just said regarding demand, not just for TSB but for shares in this sector generally?
Well, the banking sector has always been one of those sectors that I've sort of struggled to really get enthusiastic about, simply because of the considerable regulatory issues that they have going forward. TSB is being disposed of because Lloyds have to dispose of it under EU regulations. I think going forward, if they want to make it appealing to a retail investor, they're going to have to price it very low, yet they're pricing it double the valuation that they were going to make it available to the co-op for, and that makes me a little bit concerned, given the fact that there aren't going to be any dividends until 2017.
Yeah, what I'm reading is priced at less than TSB's book value of $1.5 billion. That's what the expectation is. But who's going to pick these up, do you think?
Well, I think that's the big question. I think they really need the institutions to pick them up. Certainly, I think there does appear to be some demand out of Asia and the Far East, and if that's the case, then all well and good. But I think they'll struggle to get the number of retail investors that they would like.
Moving on, what do you make of Intercontinental Hotels Group, IHG? It's up about 5% today. Talk of a takeover bid from the US. Have you heard anything else on this?
Yeah, there was some weekend chatter about that, and I think there's an awful lot of speculation. It's one of these tax inversion deals. There has been speculation that Starwood Hotels might be interested. That is not confirmed, but obviously a lot of US corporates are looking at UK companies for tax inversion purposes, relocating their tax domicile over here. They pay much less corporation tax. They're struggling to repatriate cash back home. So I think they're following in the footsteps of Pfizer with respect to AstraZeneca.
The backdrop, the context, the market, DAX at a record high, S&P going to open up above 1900. Does that surprise you?
It does. It surprises me a little bit, but not unduly. I mean, I think when I look at the markets at the moment, it's very, very difficult to ascertain anything that's really going to drive these markets lower. We've got expectations of very lax monetary policy going forward. We've got what Mr. Draghi said yesterday about a pernicious negative spiral with respect to inflation, and I think that's raised expectations of further action next week from the ECB. Given the fact that it's really not about economic data about them at the moment, it's really about expectations that central banks are going to remain monetarily loose for quite some time.